Hey everybody, welcome back to the D's Village studio. That's hilarious, I love that. Anyway, what I go on. Welcome back to the old subscribers, welcome to the new. Thanks for clicking the notification bell, thanks for subscribing. I'm nearly close to lives now, so if you want more information, for those of you that haven't subscribed, please do so. I was looking at the back of the studio and it says that 70% of you that are watching haven't subscribed. That's on you. Anyway, moving forward, today I want to discuss why people leave the West, or some of the reasons. There are phenomenal and endless lists of reasons why people leave the West, but here are some of them in no particular order, as always. So one of the real reasons why people leave the West is workplace stress. Workplace stress, and that comes in any guises. It could be bullying, it could be harassment, it could be sexually related, it could be all sorts of reasons, but we spend a lot of time in the workplace and a lot of time at work. So why should we be in the workplace and be subjected to behaviours that are inappropriate and unnecessary and unprofessional also? Okay, you say you could go elsewhere and experience those things in any other country. Of course you could, but that's just one of the reasons that people have acknowledged why they leave the West. Some people just are fed up of the glass ceiling. You know that ceiling that they put there? The ceiling's here and you are working your way, chug, 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 chug. So you go up, 2 steps forwards, 3 steps back. That's a song, isn't it? Anyway, so you still keep trying to climb, and when you eventually get there, you hit the glass ceiling and it all shatters and comes down. And funnily enough, you are no further forward. So some people will leave the West because they have hit the glass ceiling within their workplace and they cannot get any further. So they just say, do you know what? I'm out of here. Absolutely out of here. Some people leave because of the politics. That could be the politics in the country that they're living in. And I mean, okay, a lot of us don't necessarily know. A lot of us are not able to govern the politics, but people do vote for these politicians, don't they? And, you know, I'm not going to get into the political arena, but sometimes people feel that they're in a particular place, in a particular country, and the politics are stacked against them. So they say, do you know what? It's time for me to head on out of this situation. The political arena is not going to benefit them as citizens of that particular country. So politics, or politricks as we would say, is another good reason why people leave the West. Some people, you know, they have that conversation about class and race and class. It's certainly two different subject areas and subject matters, but these will ultimately and can ultimately impact on why people leave the West. Because in a lot of societies across Africa, there is a class system. The class system exists everywhere, but it is not as noticeable in parts of Africa. Not all of Africa. It's not as noticeable. You will, specifically Gambia, you will see people with absolute humongous houses living next to people whose houses are small. So, you know, is that a class divide? I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. But I'm just saying that some people will leave the West because of those things to do with the class system. And I suppose what ties into that is urban areas that are being so-called renovated, gentrification. There were lots of urban areas where families came to, and individuals that looked like me, when their parents, grandparents were very, very young. Nobody wanted to live there. You know, it was the poorest roads, the poorest infrastructure, and all these other things. and then all of a sudden somebody decides that they want to open up a whole bunch of, you know, coffee shops and bar, what are they called? Eateries and those sorts of things. And before you know it, the property prices are up beyond the sky. Nobody can afford them. So then the schools become wanted schools. So then people have to move out of the area. That's called regentrification, gentrification, urbanization, whatever word you choose to use. They're all similar, and they're not dissimilar. So again, that's about money, isn't it? Money talks. So, you know, some people will also be driven out of their housing because they can no longer afford to live in that particular area that they've perhaps lived in there all their life. They probably lived in their house that belonged to their grandmother or grandparents or whoever. So those are some of the reasons that people leave the West. Whew, a heavy one now, a heavy one. Don't get fighting in the comments section. Don't do it. Don't get doing it. It's real talk. Leave the West because of issues to do with race. They will feel that they are individuals that have been, I don't know, maybe stigmatized, maybe stereotyped, maybe people look upon them in a certain way, they're objectified, or people have come to conclusions about somebody before they've even taken the time to get to know them, know anything about them, know anything about their culture or their way of life. So some people will say, do you know what? This is not working for me because I look a certain way. I am potentially a target. So those are some of the rawness and the realness of why people will say enough is enough for me. I no longer want to be somewhere where I'm always going to be the one that is, people will say, do you know what, I'm no longer going to stay in this particular environment if I don't even have an equal footing or even any footing in a society that is constantly going to stigmatize, brutalize, and all those other things that come with race. It's real talk. You know, people can say back and forth, it's left to you, but statistical data shows that these issues happen, and those are not the only reasons why people choose to move and live abroad, but the evidence is there, it's well documented. So you can't argue with black and white. Okay, so that kind of moves into the next sort of topic area where people decide it's too much, I got to go because of police brutality. Now, I've not lived in America. I've been to America plenty of times, and I've been to several states in America. And it's well documented in the news, social media, and all these other places that police brutality indeed exists. Certain groups certain groups in society are targeted more. And, you know, I don't have the data for America, not at all. I don't have that data. But what I see in the media would appear to reflect what people are saying, that people that maybe look like me or similar to me, or maybe that speak a language or come from a different culture or different cultural heritage, are those that are targeted. So that kind of brings me to what happens in America as well, in terms of, you know, people are being shot. There's a catalogue of people, you know, George Floyd was one very, very recently, Trayvon Martin. Oh, I can't. There's just too many of them. There's too many. So I'm not going to labour that, because that's just going to be a point of a point of sorrow and sadness and bitterness. But bringing it forward to the context of what happens in the UK is there most definitely is police brutality. Police here do not carry guns routinely. There are many people that have been brutalised. Mark Duggan, that was a prolific case, and there have been so many more just for being a male, just for being a black male. And yes, let's not argue about black, brown, of Afro. You get the gist of what I'm saying. I'm using black so contextually you can understand what I'm saying. So many people will say, you know what, this police brutality, it's too much for me. I want my young males to be able to go about their daily business, just get a regular job if that's what they want, raise their families and do things that everybody else does in society. But because a lot of our people are profiled and racially profiled, it can make it very difficult. Very difficult. So many people will say, gone, forget about it. You know, I suppose in some ways it's like swimming in the sea backwards against the tide when there's a storm. People just don't feel as though they're getting any further forward. So they say, I'm out of here. Many people will say, do you know what? I am going to go from here, wherever here is for you, to somewhere that reflects me more, that reflects my spirituality, my belief system, and whether that's faith-based, spirituality-based, religious-based. People will say, I'll be able to go to that place anywhere on this continent where I'm less likely to be targeted for my faith or religious-based beliefs or spirituality. Some people will say, do you know what? Let me get in touch with my roots. Rootology, I call it. You know, there's a whole dialogue that says that many people that look like me have come from various places across Africa. I'm not here to argue, dispute that. People can do their DNA and take it from there. But many people will say, I want to be represented somewhere else because I want to be in a sea of faces that look more like me. Real talk. Many people will say that I want to go somewhere where people look more like me, where the sea of faces look like me and I'm in the majority. I'm fed up of being in the minority. So many people will leave for those sorts of reasons. Many people will want to reconnect with what they consider to be their culture. That could be a whole nother vlog. And some people will be reconnecting with that culture whose parents were directly born in anywhere here, and some will be reconnecting by ancestry. That's what I want to say. So they'll say, do you know what? Let me see what can happen for me over there, because I want to feel as though I'm reconnecting, rekindling with my culture, with my root geology, with my spirituality. Those are some real in-your-face reasons why people would want to leave the West. And to reconnect with a culture that they feel has been lost, been taken away, that they can't identify with and want to identify with. Many will say, do you know what? I can just be much freer be more like myself, have more self-expression, and nobody really minds. Nobody's really going to be in that dialogue with me. Why are you doing this? Why is this particular way? You're just accepted for who you are. And that is that. Plain and simple. So some people will say, I want generational wealth. And because of history, our story, not his story, some people will say that it's very, very difficult to be able to attain generational wealth in a Western system. I'm sure some people have been able to do that, but the opportunities are greater in the African continent. Again, real talk. Take it or leave it. Fight in the comment section, however you want to do it. But there is factual data and evidence to suggest so. But I would guess that the biggest one of all, I would guess, is people just are tired. They are tired, exhausted, worn down, worn out, oppressed. You see the shoulders are just slumping down. You know, they get up in the morning, they're like, whoa, I'm 6 feet tall. By the end of the day, they're like, oh, shoulders going down and shrinking. And they haven't got a condition that makes them shrink. People are just tired of the oppression of systems, structures, politics, and you know, not political parties per se, but the politics of how things are governed. People want to have more rights and more freedoms. And I guess peace of mind over all. Peace of mind over all will make people say, do you know what? We out of here. We out of here. We take our chances anywhere where we have to go. We'll do what we need to do in order to make it work. We're going to stick and stay, even when it's a struggle, when it's an issue, when it's a problem. Because the grass is not always greener. It's not necessarily greener in the West. It's not necessarily greener in Africa. But you have to, as the young people say, pick your struggle. Pick your struggle. So do you know what? That's all I've got for you right here and now. But what I would like you to do is, if you haven't and you felt that that was of some use to you, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and keep on coming back to explore and enjoy the journey. We're on our way to live. I can't repeat it enough, and time's running out. So we out of here. Peace, guidance, power, and protection. Kairo, you don't know it's been D at D's Village. Until another good time, walk good, walk good.